What's up, everyone? It's Books&Looks TV. Today I'm going to talk about Kelly Rowland's early career with Destiny's Child, Colorism, and just her general career. So Kelly Rowland was the darkest member of Destiny's Child, something she was reminded of time and time again. As the darkest girl in my childhood friend group, and every friend group since, that resonated with me. As a kid, I felt like she understood the isolation that comes with having darker skin. And looking back now, I know she helped shape my complicated relationship to my skin color. Kelly held it down for me in a time where I didn't see girls with my complexion represented and celebrated in mainstream media. She was my anchor in a sea of whiteness. No other brown girl at the time had crossover appeal the way Kelly did. She could be on the cover of Essence one day and 17 magazine the next. I loved her for that. But at the same time, she became my paper bag test. In my mind at the time, Kelly was the last acceptable shade of black. I constantly compared my skin tone to hers in every magazine she was featured in and panicked whenever there was a discrepancy. I couldn't fathom being darker than her because honestly, I thought I would be considered ugly. And this is stated by a Mixed Feelings blogger. And so today I just want to talk about Kelly Rowland and possibly how colorism may have impacted her career and just her general talents. So a question I have for you all today watching: was colorism the reason that Kelly Rowland didn't have the greatest solo career, or was it a flop in her management and marketing? Let me know down below in the comments. So first I'm going to talk about Kelly Rowland's career with Destiny's Child. Aside from Beyonce, Kelly Rowland was the only group member who lasted through all the stages of Destiny's Child switching up group members. I like to believe it was because she wanted to be a singer, definitely, and because she grew up with Beyonce as a childhood friend. Let's first talk about the term colorism. The term colorism was coined in 1983 by activist, writer, and poet Alice Walker. In her essay, "If the Present Looks Like the Past, What Does the Future Look Like?" Walker defined the system of colorism as prejudicial or preferential treatment of same-race people based solely on the color of their skin. During the essay, she addressed two women, the black woman and the high yellow black woman, using a binary paradigm. Walker stated her concern for the hatred of the black woman encounters with black society and asked that the light black woman be aware of the pain they often quite unconsciously inflict on the black woman. And this is stated by Asia Witt. I think it's important to note that when we think about colorism and shades of blackness, there is a spectrum of blackness. And I think that this author, when speaking of Alice Walker, is talking about the darkest shade of blackness. And I know there are people out there who say, well, Kelly isn't the darkest. I think when she's next to Beyonce, you can tell a big difference in like the spectrum of like brown skin. Kelly being the only original member aside from Beyonce led some people to critique and compare them. I bullshit you not. When I typed in Kelly Rowland in search images while I tried to work on this video essay, often Beyonce was attached in some regards. There have been interviews where Matthew Knowles admitted to his daughter benefiting from colorism, and times where group members such as the former member said that they'd tan when Beyonce did not. I think it's safe to say that Kelly was impacted by continuous comparison to Beyonce due to complexion and even vocal talent. There are many people who criticize Beyonce's earlier vocals. In general, I think we can all admit that Kelly Rowland had an amazing voice and vocal range. At the earliest days of Destiny's Child, even maybe Beyonce's early career, people would always criticize that Beyonce couldn't sing. Did I ever believe that? No. I love Beyonce, but I did notice that her voice is definitely stronger now. If you even think about the days in Destiny's Child, yes, Beyonce was the lead singer. Just think about being the lead singer, having this accepted beauty capital, then you are Kelly Rowland besides someone, and then the public sees you as less desirable. So Matthew Knowles, he admitted how colorism had an impact on Beyonce's success and the success of Destiny's Child. There was one point in his interview with DJ Vlad where he said, as long as there was a Beyonce, there would be Destiny's Child. I know people like to argue whether it was his child, etc., but I also like to believe that this could be a sense of duality. If he is acknowledging that colorism exists and Beyonce happens to be light-skinned, wouldn't that mean that, generally speaking, if there is an R&B group, as long as there's a light-skinned, desirable person, there will always be a successful group? I mean, that's how I take it. So Matthew Knowles talks about colorism, and he said that he saw desirability in Black women because of his mother, and his mother telling him not to bring home a dark-skinned, nappy-headed woman. And he acknowledged also that people like Mariah Carey, Rihanna, Nicki Minaj, they all are light-skinned, so that contributed to their success. Now, if this is a person who managed Destiny's Child, he's a person who teaches music business, he's someone who is successful in the business, then I would believe that he understands that colorism does impact careers. Let's keep that in mind, but let's talk about Kelly Rowland's solo career as a singer. So from 2002 to 2006, Kelly Rowland produced her solo album Simply Deep while also completing the last album from Destiny's Child, Destiny Fulfilled. Rowland released her album solo in 2002 and the album was successful, selling over 2.5 million copies worldwide. It featured a worldwide success song like Dilemma with the rapper Nelly, and it spent 10 consecutive weeks on the US Billboard Hot 100. In 2006, Destiny's Child released their fifth and final studio album. The album was another success, selling over 8 million copies worldwide. Kelly Rowland released her second solo album, Miss Kelly, in 2007. The album was less successful than her debut, selling only 200,000 copies in the United States. It featured the singles Like This, Work, Ghetto, and Delight. In 2009, Roland was featured on the David Guetta single When Love Takes Over, which became a global hit, reaching number 1 in over 10 countries. From 2010 to 2012, Kelly Rowland came out with Here I Am, and she was one of the hosts on the X Factor UK. Rowland released her third solo album, Here I Am, in 2011. The album was more successful than her previous album, selling over 500,000 copies in the United States. It featured the singles Motivation, Down for Whatever. 2012, Roland joined the judging panel of the UK version of the X Factor. He remained on the show for one season. I just wanted to kind of share also the public opinions of Kelly Rowland's work. Someone says, Here I Am feels like Kelly is struggling to find a sound. She had a big hit with When Love Takes Over, so she wanted to capitalize on that. Motivation was also big. She wanted to capitalize on that. They obviously wanted to get her a radio pop hit, so there's songs for that. And the ultimate result is an album that feels a little all over the place. Talk a Good Game is a better album. I haven't listened to all of Kelly Rowland's albums, but I did like Talk a Good Game a lot. Like, that was a very great album to me, and there were plenty of songs I felt like she was very vulnerable, and it was just a good R&B album to me. Talk a Good Game came out in 2013, which was her fourth solo album. The album was a success, but it was not as commercially successful as her previous albums. In 2014, Roland joined the judging panel of the US version of the X Factor. She remained on the show for one season. So in 2015, Roland became a coach on the Australian version of The Voice. He remained on the show for 5 seasons. During this time, Roland also released several singles and collaborated with other artists. He also appeared in several films and television shows. Despite all of this, Kelly Rowland has sold over 20 million records worldwide. She has won numerous awards, including a Grammy Award and an American Music Award. She is also a successful actress and entrepreneur. Many people have talked about how Kelly Rowland had a great vocal range, and that would make me wonder, well, why wasn't she successful as Beyonce? Essence said Kelly Rowland has one of the most impressive vocal ranges in R&B. Billboard magazine stated Rowland is a vocal powerhouse with a range that spans 3 octaves. The New York Times says Rowland's voice is a force to be reckoned with. The Washington Post states Rowland is one of the most talented singers of the generation. Rowland's vocal range is simply incredible, as stated by the Rolling Stone magazine. Kelly Rowland has a vocal range that has been praised by critics, fans, and many artists. 50 Cent, who isn't the most positive, he talked about how she had a great vocal voice. And so aside of that, I want to talk more about some of the controversy that has been a part of Kelly Rowland's career. One of the biggest controversies surrounding Rowland's solo career was the release again of her second album, Miss Kelly. And so some fans accused her of abandoning her R&B roots and trying to sound too pop. Another controversy surrounds her solo career was her decision to join the judging panel of the X Factor UK in 2011. Some people felt that she was not qualified to be a judge and that she was only there because of her name. Others felt that she was too harsh to the contestants. I think another lingering aspect of Kelly Rowland's career was her deciding to do a collaboration with Chris Brown, who is a known colorist. And so Kelly Rowland didn't seem very apologetic when she was confronted by it. Or like other artists have said, oh, you guys need to forgive and forget. And of course, Chris Brown supported her for saying that. Being Black is not a color, it's an experience. And so now I want to talk more about colorism and an aspect of how Kelly Rowland has responded to or addressed it. Kelly Rowland talked about colorism in the entertainment industry in a 2013 interview with The Guardian. She said, I've definitely experienced colorism. I've been told that I'm not pretty enough and that I'm not dark enough, that I'm not light enough. I've been tough, but I've learned to love my skin and to be proud of who I am.
I was looking at this magazine and it said what beauty looked like, and it was all women that did not look like me, with blonde hair, and I was thinking, well, if that's what beauty looks like, then where do I fit in?
Wow.
And it's just so interesting because you put all these visuals out here. I think, media is responsible for that. These different companies are responsible for that, so you have to be really careful because I think as a kid, you want to be able to see yourself, through so many different women.
Kelly Rowland has also said that she believes that colorism has played a role in her solo career. In a 2019 interview with The Cut, she said, I think colorism has definitely played a role in my solo career. I think it's played a role in the careers of many dark-skinned women in the entertainment industry. It's something that we have to talk about because it's a real issue. Kelly Rowland's experience with colorism are not unique. Again, like she said, there are many dark-skinned women in the entertainment industry who've spoken about discrimination that they face. And colorism is complex. It seems like the industry is trying to make it more inclusive. I sometimes think it's performative. But I also think that if people maybe speak up more so, it might be more commodified. I hate to admit it. But who knows? Maybe people will again start valuing talent over looks. I don't know. Because Kelly Rowland to me is gorgeous. I'm going to now read some public opinion. A recent interview with Billboard, rapper 50 Cent weighed in on the seemingly ever-raging debate about Destiny's Child's album, Beyonce and Kelly Rowland. Speak says, you can't forget all the work she did with Destiny's Child. The difference between Kelly and Beyonce is the extreme focus they put on Beyonce to make sure she was completely right. Kelly wasn't held in the same regard. So in order for her to mean anything in America, they'd have to match the marketing dollars spent on Beyonce. She never received the same superstar treatment. Story goes that Beyonce was slated. This is another public opinion. The story goes that Beyonce was slated to release her debut album, Dangerously in Love, in the fall of 2002. Then Kelly became a sensation overnight with Dilemma with Nelly. Matthew then rushed her album, Simply Deep, to follow the success of the single and quickly added that as the lead single off of the album to drop later that year. The women of Destiny's Child wanted their releases to not overlap each other, so they staggered their album dates to let each member shine. So it seemed like Matthew the problem to me, but this is just my opinion. Beyonce released Work It Out in 2002 to a commercial disappointment, and that combined with the release of Dilemma promoted Matthew to instruct Beyonce to rework the album, eventually adding Crazy in Love, becoming one of the biggest hits of all time. The album delay caused the album to be released in 2003 and the lead single to be released that summer. And I remember that summer because I was like 14 years old and I remember seeing Beyonce all over the TV screen. Anyways, they go on to say, had Kelly have not released Dilemma, I wonder if Beyonce would have had the same success or at least gained enough momentum to become the breakout star we know her as today. Crazy in Love wouldn't have existed, and the album might have been completely different than what we expected. And then someone else says, it can't be denied that she's a great singer and that she has the looks. And let's be honest, being lighter skinned than the others didn't hurt. But the big thing, marketing, marketing, marketing. And this isn't a dig at Beyonce. Just about all the big stars from years past benefit from marketing and promotion. And Beyonce is on Columbia, whose roster is a legendary list of stars recognizable by just one name. Streisand, Springsteen, Dylan, Michael, Mariah, Celine, all of them, even the humble grassroots guys like Springsteen and Dylan, benefited from big promotional budgets, appearances on talk shows, interviews, ad placement in record stores, and yes, payola to MTV and radio stations. In conclusion, I do think that Kelly Rowland was very talented and very beautiful. I can honestly say that she has had a lot of success and she hasn't had the level of controversy that a lot of artists do. I think that overall, seeing Kelly seemingly content in being who she is and still managing to have a good relationship with Beyonce isn't a lot that a lot of people could say who have crossed Beyonce or work with her. But it's not all about Beyonce, as this is to focus on Kelly Rowland and an aspect of colorism. I think that Kelly Rowland has always been confident, despite people questioning who she is as a backup singer, or as she said, as the second lead singer. She's always been who she wants to be and done things on her own terms. And for that, I can truly say that Kelly Rowland deserves her flowers. Let me know what you all think about this down below. And thank you for listening to Books and Looks TV. I'll see y'all next time.